Our first story tonight comes from r/am I the asshole. I grew up speaking German with my girlfriend's parents, who are native Russian speakers but fluent in German as well. Being multilingual, I also knew Russian thanks to an ancient family secret and some dedicated courses. However, I never thought much of it until a family friend came over and I exchanged playful banter in Russian, catching everyone off guard. My girlfriend now feels awkward that I kept this ability hidden for years. Did I make an error hiding my language skills? Up next. I recently had a conversation with my son about the matter at hand, and he suggested that we talk later. We did eventually chat, and both my spouse and child admitted to seeing this post. I felt relieved since I thought they only saw it for the first time. My daughter-in-law realized that she was acting like her own mother, who had a rocky relationship with her husband. She even became distant and cold when making decisions because of her sister's experience. My son agreed that he'd overcompensated in supporting his spouse due to living separately from us. We managed to work out our misunderstandings, but I remain uncertain about the future. Thank you, Reddit, for aiding me in understanding the situation better. Moving on to our next story. My partner and I, both in our late 40s, along with the 4 children from our blended family, a 16-year-old twin set, a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old live together harmoniously in our suburban home. Now, my partner's sister called to inform us that her 25-year-old daughter has been offered a job in this city, and she wants the young woman to stay with us indefinitely after only asking for a few days at first. After some adjustments for space and allergies, we are unsure about housing her long-term. Our family bond may be strained if we say no, but we worry that welcoming her without boundaries could cause complications within our blended household. This next one comes in from the same subreddit. As the breadwinner in my blended family, I've always tried to treat all of the kids equally when it comes to finances. Initially, I merged our finances and provided equal support for each kid. However, as the years went by, my husband and I found it increasingly difficult to parent our kids collectively. Our dynamic shifted. He didn't adhere to financial agreements and even undermined me in front of the children. Things came to a head when my stepdaughter asserted that she wouldn't answer to my spending on my own kids and that her father should have free reign over his discretionary income. As his wife, I expected him to back me up. So we agreed it was best to separate finances entirely, each handling our own kids' expenditures without interference from the other. It was a difficult decision, but it has brought peace to our budgeting and significantly reduced stress levels. Despite my husband's inclination to spend more on his daughter, due to the disparity in income between us, I continue to spend more on mine as the situation demands rather than sticking to arbitrary financial boundaries. Up next. Yesterday, I informed my 12-year-old daughter that I'd happily take her and a friend to a water park today. She initially invited friend A, but after not hearing back from A, she moved on and texted friend B when B didn't respond either. She decided to invite friend C instead, who immediately agreed. Later, around 10:30 p.m., B finally responded saying she was also interested in going. My daughter explained the situation to B and that another person had already taken the spot. B acknowledged the change with a no-problem response over text, but her mother disagreed with my daughter's actions later on, insisting we should have waited for B to respond before making any other arrangements. But in my view, if it's a last-minute invitation, you can ask someone and give them a chance to reply, then move on if there's no answer. Ultimately, I believe my daughter did nothing wrong. Here's another one. My best friend is getting married soon. Even though I expected to be the bride's maid of honor, she chose her brother instead. While I was initially a bit offended, I decided it didn't bother me much. However, when I found out that she still wanted me to handle all the traditional maid of honor tasks, my frustration grew. She argued that her brother couldn't handle these duties because of his age, even though he's older than my own spouse. Fueled by my irritation, I told her if I'm doing all the work, I want to be the bride's maid of honor or else I'll quit. Do you think I'm being unreasonable for wanting the title? Moving on to our next story. I 19M and my girlfriend 19F were at my house yesterday when she started getting a migraine. It worsened, and she fell asleep on me since her meds made her drowsy. My mom texted about needing help with the dogs, my dad cooking, reluctant to leave his task. She asked if I could take the larger dog and I explained that my girlfriend had a difficult time. My mom insisted I was ridiculous. My dad concurred but advised after dinner. We compromised. I'd take the dog post-dinner, wash dishes afterward, a gesture of support for working in the kitchen. This next one comes in from the same subreddit. My wife was a bridesmaid in one of her friend's weddings. As the groom's side events planner, she was heavily involved throughout months in dress fittings and group chats, but I wasn't part of any of that. I assumed important details would be shared with me if necessary. At the wedding, I noticed everyone wearing black tuxedos with bow ties except for me. An ordinary suit stood out like a sore thumb. It was embarrassing as people jokingly pointed it out. My wife admitted she forgot to tell me about the dress code because of being busy everywhere else. Feeling disrespected, I struggled to comprehend why this detail escaped her attention. It would have made no difference had she mentioned it earlier. She later shrugged off my concerns, but I felt justified in feeling slighted. I wished she'd shared the event details from the start. People questioned why I didn't verify attire requirements myself, but that did not mitigate my initial complaint. Not only did I feel embarrassed at a wedding where I was so obviously underdressed, but there was also an added emotional hit. Knowing my wife knew this detail and chose to overlook sharing it with me left me even more upset. And finally, one more from r/am I the asshole. I was at my parents' home discussing everyday topics with my mom when my sister interrupted me. As I shared our plans to have a baby, she made an insensitive remark about being glad she got to touch me before I became contaminated. Stunned by her comment, I asked if she genuinely believed such a thing. With no explanation or apology, she just laughed and continued with the conversation. When I told my sister that I would no longer pay for her dinner after her joke, we fell into an argument, leaving me wondering whether to invite her on future meals under such circumstances.